Despite the pandemic, more than 80% of colleges have reopened for students to take some or all of their classes in person. And while life on campus may look drastically different than it did last semester, there's one thing that hasn't changed. Come November, students will be looking to vote, and they'll face voting hurdles that existed long before COVID-19.
My name is Anthony Zing. I am a junior public health and chemistry major at the University of Texas at Austin, and I am the president of Texas Votes. Okay, this is my mock voter registration form. You do need to update your voter registration every single time you move. So with that being said, does anyone need to update their registration? So if you have moved since you last did this, you need to do it again. All right, that's a lot, so I'm just gonna quickly give you all a primer on how to do this.
College students have traditionally been one of the most difficult groups to get out to the polls. Many are first-time voters who don't know how to register, and in Texas, they can't register online and must file at least 30 days before an election.
If you are not registered to vote in the next 6 hours, you will not be able to vote in the primary election. We can register you right now, it takes a couple minutes, and you will be able to vote. But you have to do it tonight. Tonight is the last time to register for the primary election.
Right now, the politics in Texas are really in flux, and it's especially unpredictable because we've had such a surge in voter registration. There's never been more Texans registered to vote ever as there is right now.
One of the biggest challenges to voting is access to the polls.
Having polling locations on our campus has made a huge impact for our students. We are seeing about 70 to 80% of our students early vote, and that early voting is primarily on our campus, which is incredible. It means it's faster for them, it's easier for them.
Texas has eliminated hundreds of polling locations in recent years, which means many voters must now travel farther to get to their nearest site.
Proximity to a polling location is enormous. You are 42% less likely to vote if you do not have a polling location less than 2/3 of a mile from you.
A new state law passed in 2019 has also triggered fewer sites for early voting, including many on college campuses. Prairie View A&M is one of the universities that's lost its on-campus location for early voting.
Basically, what we're marching for is to showcase the disenfranchisement that students face, Prairie View students specifically face every time there's some type of election. It doesn't matter if it's local or if it's national level elections, it's something.
As Texas's first historically black college, Prairie View students have faced a long history of voter suppression. In the 1970s, Waller County wouldn't let black students vote because they weren't quote-unquote permanent residents. The lawsuit that followed made it all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court, which ruled in favor of the Prairie View students and affirmed all students' right to vote in their college communities. But it didn't guarantee their right to vote on campus. The decision about whether or not to put polls on campus is one that election officials argue is about balancing the needs of students with other residents.
Spent entirely too much time talking about how it's inconvenient for students to walk more than a couple hundred feet to get to a polling place and all this other stuff when the people of Prairie View have been completely disregarded with regard to that. Now,
we want to give everybody the right to vote, and the students absolutely have just as much right as anybody here. But to say that they need extra special attention, no.
What a lot of people wanted was, well, let's just have an early voting poll on campus, and then we'll put one at the community center for the residents. But how can I justify having two polls in a location that's a few hundred yards apart when I have folks in Field Store and these other remote areas of the county, they don't get a poll at all, and they have to drive 20 minutes. I can't justify that.
Why? You need to utilize y'all's voice for real, y'all. This is our right to vote. Voting is literally the simplest right, but the most impactful. So let's show them what we are made to do. We're PV students and proud to be PV students, right?
This is something as students that we're supposed to be excited about, especially people who are like the incoming freshmen who have never voted once in their life. This is supposed to be their first time, and you're discouraging them from doing so by putting it off campus if they don't have a car or they think it's too far of a walk.
Since the last presidential election, an additional 15 million Americans turned 18, becoming eligible to vote. And youth voter registration in many states, including Texas, has already exceeded levels seen pre-election in 2016. If turnout trends continue, college students and young people could play an increasingly important role in elections. That is, if the process of registering and getting out to vote is within their reach.